Hello there, it's Josh here. Thought I would record a video run through of Exeter's card on Friday, the 8th of November. I'm recording this on Thursday about 10 to 4. The idea isn't to tip a load of winners or flag a load of horses. I want to try and keep this as brief as I can, and that's rather difficult to do in such races. It's more a kind of run through, try and flag some stats or things of interest, or how my brain would think about things if attacking this card, and kind of trying through the card and kind of going in more depth later on. So yeah, let's dive in. Do watch with a notepad if you wish. Note down what you think is interesting, or ignore if you think I'm talking nonsense. Do as you please. Right, 1240 novices hurdle, not the kind of race I personally dive into too often. Lots of unknowns, obviously. Who's here trying? Who has the class to win? Who's going to run for a handicap mark? Of course, at this stage of the season, lots of horses returning, having had breaks, and it's hard to know who needs to run or not. A lot of Paul Nicholls have looked backwards and behind and needing it as if they're two or three gallops short. Of course, as we hurtle into November, he'll have got stuck in a lot more at home, so it could be that more horses start doing something on their seasonal return. But certainly, so far from his early runners, it looks like plenty have been coming on for the run, and he's hardly banging them in as yet. 3 from 21, 9 places last 14 days. He's kind of excuse me, 10% below his normal kind of winning strike rate of the last year, and likewise his place strike rate, and a few of his other pointers are a bit below as well. He'll obviously start firing at some point soon, left, right and centre, but yeah, something to keep an eye on. So with that in mind, Dan Skelton's, he can get them fit if he wants them fit. Again, you're guessing, is the horse being handicapped? Do they want them here? The market will obviously guide to some degree. 27% strike rate in the last 14 days. They're obviously going well. Plenty get absolutely smashed in the market, of course, and plenty are put in short by the odds compilers and are well backed. As always in races like this, yeah, the market can guide more generally, and it's not going to be a shock that the Nicholls Beast and Dan Skelton's are at the top. They were highly tried in National Hunt flat races. One was a winner in a race working out well, Captain Bellamy, and yeah, Dan Skelton's has got some decent form as well, and yeah, was highly tried in a solid National Hunt flat race. Again, races that have worked out okay. So yeah, neither of those may need to be 100% fit to kind of get competitive and take this. I've flagged Dan's form. Jenny Candice is in great, well, it is in decent form, and that's worth flagging. You would think, this horse is on a 5-timer, and fair play to Connections. He's up to 113, carrying a double penalty, I think, but he's got £10 more than the rest of them. I think Connections with a few other horses in here would be hoping they've got a horse that's better than 113, but he's obviously arriving bouncing in form, and might set a decent standard for them to aim at, but you'd think something better. But anyway, this sort of race is watching brief for me. I will just flag Warren Great Tricks, who's been doing okay actually. They tick along. They're in form in the sense of the place strike rate. 1 from 9, 5 places. He's possibly been a bit unlucky with a couple, but that's a yard who are at least going well, and some of his runners may be worth keeping an eye on. He would tend to do better with chasers down the line. This one's form is hard to get a grip on. Top 2 in the market fought this race out again. Probably come on for the run. I think second in the point there. You're guessing whether they're going to decide to handicap them or, who knows. But at least this one's fit and had a run. But yeah, that's possibly a race more to watch with the notebook and to see, especially Nicholls and Skelton, whether they may be 2 novice hurdlers to keep an eye on over this side moving forwards. No shock the Nicholls horse here is going to be a very short price. The others might be running scared of him. This one does come here on the back of a run. He was expected to win last time out. Some solid enough National Hunt flat form. And yeah, did well here, but just blew up like a few of them. So you'd expect the Nicholls horse here is going to come on bundles for that run, and probably just try and make all, and the rest may not get near him. Again, hard to know with John Joes in terms of my thinking of these races. Are they handicapping them? Is this race 1 of 3 to get a handicap mark? Are they fit? Plenty of unknowns there. Dan Skelton's horse, again in form, was sent off 14-1 here at Carlisle. That kind of makes you think being handicapped and isn't going to kind of step forward here. But we will see. So yeah, that looks very much about the Nichols horse in that one, and not too much else to say at this stage in terms of other representation in this race. I should just flag the team John Joe. They're going along okay, and with trainer form, it's always worth looking kind of their last 14 days against their year as a whole, and if they're doing much better, it would suggest obviously they're in better form, as would some of the stats down here, percentage of rivals beaten, and so on. Let's rattle on. Another 3-runner race. I think we could all do with some rain, some very small fields. I think a lot of trainers are just running away from the ground and the going. Well, I'd like to think that's the case. Otherwise, the sport over here is in a bit of trouble if that isn't the situation. But I think plenty are just waiting for ground. Captain Teague, last year's Challow Hurdle winner, is obviously going to be a short price here on Chase debut. Has a small field, can potter around. Again, the Nichols horses have seemed to be coming on plenty for the run. You'd have thought they'd have done plenty of work with this one on Chase debut. May not need to be 100% fit, but yeah, plenty of races working out well. Clearly was over the top or hated heavy going at Cheltenham, or was feeling a very, very hard race from Newbury, even by March. I just think that was possibly a season run in what was dire conditions. A big run from Dan Skelton's wouldn't be a shock. I think it's kind of 1-2, plays 6-4 at the moment. He's clearly a decent horse, some solid hurdling form, and not necessarily bred to be a chaser, although is a half brother to a point winner. And yeah, I say that in the sense that the sire's not had many runners, in fairness, over chases and fences yet. 1 from 20. He is bred and related to a lot of the chasers, so in that sense you would hope may shape up rather well in time, and he was a point winner. So yeah, we will see how this sire develops over time in terms of his chasers, but yeah, ignore what I said straight away there. He clearly is bred to do just fine over fences and does have that point-to-point experience as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting what the market does with him and whether Dan Skelton has him fully revved up. But maybe there could be an intriguing little race there between those two. For many, the first betting race on this card may be the 225. Having had a glance, I do like Venetia Williams' horse here. It is Venetia time. She had a winner at Ascot at kind of 13-2, 6-1 on his first run of the season. A couple of others shaped as if they may be needing it, but a chance the handicapper possibly just has them. You'd think this one's going to have a decent season over fences. Of course, that's assuming 147 doesn't sum him up. Not impossible it does. This race will obviously tell us much more. He's got some pretty decent Racing Post ratings here above this mark. He normally does well in the first half of the season. Decent ground doesn't seem to be a problem. Actually, the better ground, possibly the better his chance. I'm not quite sure he's a soft ground slugger. Yeah, he's got some decent handicap form here, especially Newbury, which worked out well. Ascot was okay. Lingfield, he was brought down early, so no chance. Sandown got a very odd ride. Nickelback made all, and everyone else just seemed a bit too patient. But he ran well there. And Nickelback's a solid horse in terms of for UK chasers anyway. And yeah, and then he ran well at the festival. He was, yeah, you can see reading the comments is always kind of useful and helpful just to try and get an idea on how the shape of the race and how it unfolded without going back and watching them. But if you're going to have a proper bet on anything, I'd always advise going to watch kind of recent race replays. Yeah, he was pressing on there, challenging before 3 out, before it looked like he didn't stay, or a combination of the ground possibly and the trip up that hill, because I think he stays 19-20 furlongs evidently by that Ascot win, but maybe the kind of class track ground combo, and having been fairly well aggressively ridden, and of course you might just not be as good as the two horses who beat him there, And yeah, that looks solid enough form. And then possibly at Aintree, he was over the top or rushed off his feet and was never in it. Maybe left his season at Cheltenham. But yeah, he, for me, looks like he could run a big race here. Joe Tizard, worth just flagging as JPR1. There's no shock, he's near the top of the market as well. I suppose what I thought about him at a glance is his 2 chase wins have not produced any winners. Ignoring this 1 from 11 is him himself winning this race. So his 2 chase wins are kind of 0 from 24 or 0 from 23 of others to have run since. I suppose not had many goes, but you could arguably say there's a question mark about the depth of his winning chase form in line with his mark, and maybe that puts Venetia's slightly ahead. I will just flag the Joe Tizard form, worth just absorbing more generally. Trainer jockey combo in the last 14 days, 6 from 26, 11 places, decent profit. They're going along well. Plenty are coming on for the run as well, I think. Joe Tizard's in form more generally, but yeah, especially when stable jockey Brendan Powell is put on. So they're a trainer jockey combo worth watching. There's obviously Dan Skelton I've flagged before. The other interesting thing to say in this is Bryony Frost is over. She's now permanently based in France, so I suppose it's always intriguing when she comes over. I think the market will possibly take note of that. I assume it's for this horse originally, and the owner has asked Bryony to come back over, given she won on him at Aintree. A mark of 139 poses a question. You could arguably say that the 2 here above have shown a bit more class, and in better races and in graded novice kind of grade 1s and grade 2s, and have got used to that graded pace, although at novice level. Obviously they've done more to date, hence their higher ratings. But you know, there could be. He's only 6, Sainsbury. There could be plenty more to come. Again, will he be revved up here? Bryony coming over suggests so. Could she be better weighted, treated than those top 2? Possibly. Yeah, will be interesting to see how this one gets on as well. But yeah, the other 2 have a bit more class, but of course carry a lot more weight with it. I'll skip over. Yeah, Bryony's also here for another one, which I'll mention in a second. Charlie Deutsch is riding well, 5 from 22, 6 places. That might be worth noting as well. Venetia's doesn't send too many here. She has won this race before. Let me rattle on into the last 3 races. Doesn't get any easier, even though some not monster field here, but a mare's handicap hurdle 0 to 115. Brenda's asking, Kim Bailey's got a last time out winner. Tom Bellamy appears to be getting lots of rides for the stable. He's still attached to Emma Lavelles, I believe. But yeah, Kim Bailey, these 2 teaming up in the last year is a combo to watch. Kim started the season well. Whether or not they're now just going to start to tail off a bit, we will see. But I suspect plenty more winners to come. Has a decent strike rate with last time out winners. As always in races like this one's up £7. You're trying to work out if they're still well handicapped. Take a dive into the form. Is there more to come? This one's still lightly raced, but yeah, always worth assessing kind of what they were in and around, what they've beaten. Has the form worked out? Nothing to have run kind of directly behind her as run since, so it's pretty hard to get a grip on the form. One who was absolutely smashed down here, who won over fences. So yeah, hard to get a grip on the form. I suppose with a short price favourite, for me, I like to get on grip of kind of what they've beaten. That doesn't necessarily mean horses have run since and kind of performed, but yeah, getting a deeper dive into were they beating a last time out winner, or were they in and around last time out winners, or horses coming into the race in form or higher rated, or something along those lines, or were the front 2 miles clear, etc. So getting some kind of grip on that form, especially if diving into a shorter price. There's not too much else to flag in terms of stats wise for anything else here. As always, lots of stables have stable jockeys. Jack Tudor is David Pipe's stable jockey, and he's gone to Fontwell, I think, for 1 ride for his boss. Now, whether or not that means anything, let me just find him. Yeah, he's here. He's riding a 9-4 favourite at the moment. But those kind of things to think about as well. He is stable jockey. You'd like to think David's sending him where he's got the best chance, and he isn't at Exeter for a few rides. He's just gone to Fontwell for one for David. He's probably got other rides for other yards, of course, but that will be the predominant reason why he's there, I believe. Harry Fries are just starting to tick along. That's always worth noting. 2 from 9, 5 places in the last 14 days. The place stats are decent. The percentage of rivals beaten are decent. So that's another trainer you may wish to have on side. He doesn't do overly well with handicap debutants. Still has winners, but not an angle you can kind of back blind. This one's had 58 days off. May need a bit more. Rated 99. And of course, here's Bryony as well, riding one for her dad. I'd have thought she's over for the Holden Gold Cup ride, but maybe her dad has set up Asian Spice for this, knowing that she was coming over, and that's been in the planning and the thinking for some time. That is not impossible. Her track form is worth plenty. That was under Bryony and Harry Cobden off 82 and 88. A question mark from this mark, but maybe this racecourse just brings out a bit more. Is only 6 as well. Has had a run. And yeah, Bryony's dad would tend to do well or target horses at what is their local track. I think so. Yeah, this one, given the course form, might be worth an interesting second glance, and because of course Bryony's over here, I suspect the market will cotton on to that. Evan Williams is having winners. This one at least arrives fit on the back of a run and did move with some promise last time out. Again, hard to get a grip on some of the form, but none of these horses are clearly well beaters. Kim Bailey's unexposed last time out winner may be able to hold them off and go in again. Obviously, Exeter is very different from Ludlow, and it could be this one just prefers a flat track, and that might be another reason to think about opposing. That's without having dived in too deeply. Sheila Lewis does quite well, but not over the minimum trip and kind of 2 miles 3 below, not in the last 2 years anyway, and only 2 from 113 with her hurdlers. Tends to be all more about chasing and doesn't do that well with handicap debutants. So, you know, if a horse like this just pops up and wins in a race like this, based on those kind of stats, then so be it. Those kind of stats are reasons I'd think about opposing, or leaving, I should say. But of course, we know what happens now. But yeah, there's hopefully you said something of interest there. Harry Fry's course form, I should say, was something else I wanted to flag. At Exeter, as you can see here, does well with all of his chasers, 6 from 21, 10 places. If I just click on handicaps, again, not so well in handicap hurdles, more so in non-handicap hurdles, as you can see there, and chasers. Yeah, 11 from 36 is pretty good going. Again, plenty of them are well backed, but that might be something you wish to note moving forward. So yeah, it's a fascinating little race. You'd expect Bryony's might be backed plenty, but we shall see how it plays out. What was I going to say about this race? This one I want to have a look a bit more in depth. Emma Lavelle's form isn't great at the moment. 2 from 51 the last 30 days, 0 from 21 places in the last 14. Whether or not trainer form is important to you, I think it is, and recent form important to me, and probably a reason why I wouldn't want to dive into any of hers. Of course, something's going to win soon enough. We've got striking opposed here for Joe Tizard. Horses for courses. This one's 4 from 5. 5 places. That might be worth noting. We know about the trainer stats, and Outsider at the moment does at least come here on the back of a run and ran fairly well over hurdles. Only 1 from 15, 5 places over fences, but that win was here over 19 furlongs on good to soft ground. So yeah, it doesn't look a natural chaser, and seems to be not much has gone right since. But given the yard form, arrives here fit, and that course form, and off a mark of 122, which is £6 below the winning rating here. So of his only chase win, might be worth a second glance. Wise Guy might be worth a second glance, if only because he won on seasonal return here and chase debut over the course and distance in a race which actually has worked out quite well. The wheels seemed to come off after, maybe softer ground was the excuse. Not sure what happened at Doncaster, very heavy at Newbury, maybe was done for, never travelling, or didn't like Cheltenham. Questions given the last 4 runs, more intriguing because of that return win here. I wanted to flag Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville, trainer jockey at the course, 12 from 35, 16 places here in the last 5 years. So that's just worth noting, and here in the last year. So whenever kind of Henderson and Nico team up. Dan Skelton's obviously in form. This one will probably be a short price, thoroughly unexposed, of course. Exeter on good is very different from Worcester on soft. There is a ground question there, possibly if there'll be enough cut. Looked like he was well handicapped last time before blowing up. You'd expect to come on a bit for the run. Race is working out okay. But yeah, Exeter obviously very different chase course to Worcester. John Joe's shaped encouragingly on seasonal return and chase debut also. It wouldn't be a big shock if he was fairly well fancied in short as well, but probably need to dive into some of this form a bit more. Egbert returns, having had a good season. He can be on and off the bridle a bit, does have headgear to make him travel. You wouldn't want to get too far behind around here, and maybe there's a question about that mark. But he does have a good record fresh as well. So it's an intriguing little race. Ben Pauling, talking about jockeys earlier, and David Pipe. Ben Pauling's number 1 is now Ben Jones. Keelan Woods has been relegated to stable number 2, and Ben is at Fontwell for 1 tomorrow as well, instead of being at Exeter for a couple. Whether that means anything or not, we will see. Keelan's obviously ridden and the yard might make the view that Keelan gets on well, particularly well or better with certain horses, but that's certainly something to keep an eye on. The pace maps are always useful. You generally don't want to be too far back around here. It'll be interesting if John Joe Jr. rides this one cold or out the back. Generally harder, or whether or not now he's got a run under his belt and experience over fences, they'll boot him a bit further forward. Wise Guy tried to make all last time. Striking Opposed can be up there and is possibly interesting of those at a bigger price. So can Bangers and Cash. We'll see how that one goes. 410. Sorry, I don't think there was anything else on this 335, I should say. Here is the instant expert. Egbert has obviously done fairly well on the ground. Jeremy Partey Clipper, striking Opposed fine. Yeah, this better ground is a question for some. I'm not sure there's going to be much good to soft in it, but some of them clearly handle that fine. Do with that as you please. And finally, a bit of a nightmare race. Not one I want to dive in too much. I just want to touch on, I suppose, these stats I wanted to touch on were Philip Hobson, Johnson White, and just worth noting down, regardless of whatever this one does, probably going to be he's probably going to be favourite given his profile and what I'm about to say. But together with as a joint license with their horses, first time in a handicap, 8 from 27, 16 places. Most of those will be first time handicap hurdlers, plus 15. That is a stat worth noting and absorbing. It's also worth noting and absorbing that Johnson White and Philip Hobbs are in form. 4 from 12, 9 places in the last 14 days. Trainer jockey Michael Nolans, who's stable number 1, 3 from 9, 8 places in the last 14 days. So a yard going well. All of their runners at the moment are worth a second glance. Their handicap debutants are worth a second glance. As always with races like this, it's hard to know what the form is worth, and whether this mark, having shown a fair bit in maiden hurdles, is workable. Certainly breezed into it last time, was third behind the 2 market leaders. It's hard to get a grip on the level of ability though, and whether or not a mark of 104 is strong or not. And of course, again, this course is very different. Dutox to Perth and a kind of stiffer uphill finish, but got outpaced and shaped as if May enjoy it last time. So yeah, profile wise, interesting. Yard form, handicap debut, everything else, but just getting a grip on whether or not it's got loads in hand from 104. You could just say, given this profile, I'll assume they do. But yeah, it's a pretty mediocre, possibly open handicap hurdle. Is Keelan Woods here for King of the Road? That's interesting. He's won twice on him, so maybe that's why Keelan is here. Whether or not this one is, well, he's only 5, not exactly hard over race. No kind of record fresh, was being handicapped kind of when returned last season, getting experience. The market may go, but King of the Road, if fit, given this big field form, and big field form is always worth noting, is up in class, but now drops back down to 16, which seemed to do fine. And a stiff 16 here, given that market race and win, might be just fine. Only a 5-year-old, could be more to come. Ben Pauling can ready them. He has been readying them. Plenty of them have been needing the run though. So, you know, there's positives and negatives and unknowns and knowns there. But yeah, there's nothing else I want to flag in particular. Yeah, Brian Carver's riding well. That might be worth noting. These little stats report angles, always worth a glance as well. Trainer jockey there. Yeah, Ben Pauling prepping them. Obviously Nichols has loads of winners around here. Plenty of very, very well backed. Does well with last time out winners. Again, very well, very short and very well backed. So yeah, with that said, I suppose I should finish on Instant Expert, which you might see interesting there in terms of handicap hurdles in race conditions. Obviously Sargent stands out, and well, yeah, Sargent ticks lots of boxes actually on that score. Course and distance winner, August, September, yeah, refused to race. Didn't do much there. Evidently a bit of a thinker. Looks to be half decent when on a going day, although again, analysing this form and what it's worth and so on. But in terms of race conditions, might run okay. For all Tom Cannon doesn't ride many winners around here, but he's had one. Anyway, I've been speaking for far too long, as always, but rattling through a 7-race card and trying to say something interesting isn't the easiest thing in the world, but hopefully I have said something which helps you attack the card, or you can note down for other runners on this card, other meetings and runners in the coming days, especially some of those trainers in form and so on. But with that said, if you've got to the end, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, hope you've enjoyed it. All comments always welcome, and until the next time, this is Josh saying bye for now.